Good evening, everybody. This is Danny Thompson checking with you live for the BuzzCity post-game show here on Haps TV, Facebook Live, YouTube, and anywhere you hear the sound of my voice. I'm your host, Danny Thompson, senior NBA writer covering the Charlotte Hornets for the three-point conversion. You can check out my work on the three-point conversion at the3pointconversion.com and my show throughout the week, which is called Beyond the Buzzer, Monday nights on Zingo Television as well, too. So, tonight, Charlotte didn't exactly have the best home opening performance last night. Tonight, as they took on the Oklahoma City Thunder, final score of 109-107. Oklahoma City takes advantage of the game tonight. It wasn't exactly the prettiest game for Charlotte. Oh, and by the way, if you're watching the show for the first time, I appreciate you stopping by and coming through. Also, at the same time, as you see in the top right-hand corner, by all means, like, share, subscribe. Also download the Haps app as well, too. Myself and plenty of other journalists are on this app. It's a very good way to also see some of the best journalists across the country. As you see my main man, Mike Patton, check out his work tomorrow. The Tennessee Titans will be playing tomorrow as well, too. Check all the apps at hapsatv.com. Also subscribe and get a whole bunch of coins, and also donate to yourself, myself, and other artists, other people as well, too. All right, so let's talk about the game tonight. 109-107. The Hornets fall short to Oklahoma City Thunder in the Hornets home opener. Listen, for those who didn't watch the game tonight, shame on you, because at one point it was 102-89 with about maybe 2 minutes left in the game, and the Charlotte Hornets were pretty much out of it. Hornets going at 18, was a 15-3 run to get the lead to tie the game, with Miles Bridges knocking down three-pointers in about 28 seconds to get the buzz back in the game. But before we got to that point, Charlotte played a first half where you saw so much potential and so much of what this team is looking to do. Oklahoma City doesn't have the front line of what they saw the other night against the Cleveland Cavaliers. You don't have Andre Drummond rebounding. You don't have Larry Nance. You don't have JaVale McGee killing them on the boards. Al Horford's the starting center. Yes, he had 13 rebounds tonight. But in a game like this, Charlotte ran up and down the court. You saw more Mike Muscala than you did guys, for example, like Horford. In a game like this, PJ Washington was able to do better. I mean, he plays probably the best game PJ's played, even counting preseason. He had 18 points and 8 rebounds. In this type of game, it was much more of a small ball situation, but Charlotte still struggled against the boards tonight. Mike Patton in the chat. Also, if you're in the chat as well, too, please ask questions, because we're gonna get to the questions on air. This is how the post game works. Mike asked the question, why is Vernon Carey and Nick Richards not getting any playing time? That was the huge question going into the game tonight. Cody Zeller has fractured his wrist, had surgery, will be out for about 4 to 6 weeks as he recovers from the injury. The Hornets started Bismack Biyombo in his place tonight, had 5 points, 9 rebounds, a couple of blocks. He did what Bismack Biyombo always does. He provides good interior defense as well as block shots and rebound, but he doesn't give you everything else. When you see Cody Zeller not in the lineup, you would expect to see more of Vernon Carey. Why we didn't see Vernon Carey and Nick Richards tonight could be a potential reason, Mike, is because of the fact that Oklahoma City plays a bit of smaller ball and Mike Muscala is playing the 5. Where Mike Muscala playing at the 5, since he's much more of a stretch 5, PJ can play more of that stretch 5 role. Now, Charlotte tomorrow night has to deal with the Brooklyn Nets. Jared Allen and DeAndre Jordan are not stretch 5s. So I think we should see Vernon Carey, maybe even Nick Richards, get on the floor tonight. Now, one thing head coach James Borrego said in the pregame tonight, in the pregame press conference with us tonight, was he said he didn't know if you were going to see them tonight. And really in this game, where a game was much more up and down, Vernon Carey and Nick Richards won't be as needed as much. Now, tomorrow night, Jared Allen's a guy that patrols the paint. He's a very good rebounder. We all know how good DeAndre Jordan is. I expect to see Vernon Carey and or Nick Richards get some kind of playing time, especially if, Bismack Biyombo at 6'8" can't get it done. The other part with the game tonight is, if you watch this game, Charlotte scored 59 points in the first half. They were getting the ball up and down the court, but the third quarter was just brutal for the Hornets. It was not even the defense, because they played outstanding defense. They forced 7 or 8 turnovers in the third quarter. The problem was Charlotte couldn't hit water if it was next to the ocean. Charlotte finished the quarter 6 of 30 from the floor, shooting the basket. The Thunder was turning the ball over left and right, but when you're watching the game, all you see is Charlotte bricking almost every single shot. If it wasn't for Caleb Martin in the third quarter, the Hornets would probably getting blown out completely. Caleb Martin, who didn't even play the first game of the season, did an outstanding job on offense. I think he hit 4 shots in the quarter, hit all but 2 points in the quarter. He did everything he could to keep the Hornets into the game. And it was a game where the shooting was the issue, as Mike Patton says in the chat, but it was more than just the shooting. The defense as PJ Washington told us in post game, the fact that Oklahoma City was able to not only get offensive rebounds but get tip-ins against a shorter front line for the Charlotte Hornets was a problem. But let's take the game all the way back to the first quarter. Let's go quarter by quarter and tell you for those who did miss the game, let's catch you back up. So the first quarter, the Charlotte Hornets started out the game playing solid. It was a up and down first quarter. LaMelo Ball checks in. Not only did he get his first points from a split from the free throw line, but he knocked down 2 3-pointers, had 9 points in the first quarter. Charlotte played really well in the first quarter. Into the second, at a 16-4 run, took the lead. Charlotte's up by 3 at the first quarter. As you get into the second quarter, that's where Charlotte started to kind of play much more of an up-tempo game. LaMelo Ball had 13 points to end the first half. Devontae Graham started the game shooting well, had 11 points. Problem was Graham didn't hit anything until the fourth quarter. I think Devontae's next basket happened right about the last minute where he hit a 3-pointer when no one knows what's going on. Mike in the chat saying he knows Gordon Hayward can facilitate. The thing was, Gordon's shot wasn't on tonight. So if you watch Gordon Hayward, his shot wasn't particularly all there tonight. He didn't shoot the ball as well as he did in the first game. He had 18 shot attempts. The shots wasn't falling from him. Like, it was 5 of 13 shooting from the floor. He had the 12 points. He still facilitates playmaking very, very well. And with him on the floor, it makes things a bit different. He had 7 assists tonight. So he got guys involved and he did what he needed to do. Precious in the chat saying she thinks the team's going to have a struggle in their defense tomorrow night. This is a different type of game. The Brooklyn Nets, and we'll talk about the Nets in the preview tomorrow in a second for the game tomorrow. It's a different type of team. Charlotte has seemed to struggle in the first 2 games, as you can tell with the guard play. It's nothing against Devontae Graham or Terry Rozier. They struggle with physical guards. It's been a struggle with physical guards the first 2 games. Look at Colin Sexton in the first game, was a bigger guard and was able to get to the free throw line and play bully ball. Tonight, at times, you saw Lou Dort for the Thunder, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander just be bigger and stronger and much more physical than the guards that Charlotte had. And when that happens, it allows guys like George Hill, who I'm surprised he missed a shot. It shows he was 8 for 9 from the floor, but it seemed like every shot he took on the floor tonight, including 4-4 from the 3-point line. It makes guys like George Hill much more dangerous when it comes to moving around and setting screens, and it just makes the game different. Now, when you look at what Al Horford did tonight, he only scored 3 points, but what Al Horford does, he just patrols the paint. Darius Bazley had 10 rebounds. Charlotte struggled once again with the rebounds tonight. And even though it was a closer total, the fact of Charlotte gave up 54 rebounds in this game is the problem. It seemed like every shot they were taking, they were getting rebounds, and Charlotte didn't have second chance opportunities as well. The other part that killed the Hornets tonight was free throw shooting. In the NBA, free throw shooting is what makes teams. When you take 32 free throws and the other team takes 24, in most cases you're supposed to be winning. That's how this works. In the case of the Hornets tonight, Charlotte hit 20 free throws out of 32, while Oklahoma City was 19 of 24. That was a huge, huge problem for Charlotte. And it wasn't the fact that Charlotte was missing free throws. Their main guys are missing free throws. You saw Terry Rozier miss 2 key free throws back-to-back in the fourth quarter where Charlotte needed them. Devontae missed free throws. PJ was 3 of 6 on the line. You got to hit free throws when you need to. PJ played better, but you got to hit shots when it's needed to. I know, Mike, the Cavaliers are playing really well with their backcourt, but that's a different story for a different day. But when you look at watch how the Hornets operate throughout the game site, like I said, the first half they played well. It's just that third quarter where it just became an issue when it came to much more of a dynamic defensive effort. Now, to Precious' point, she posted about the twins, the Martin twins. Listen, you look at what Cody Martin does on a nightly basis, and you look what he did on the stat sheet. 16 minutes, he did zeros across the board. But what Cody Martin did was he played defense. He gets after the ball, he hustles. When you take away the last play, The last play with Shea Gilgeous-Alexander hit the game-winning shot with the step back. That's SGA being SGA. He's one of the best on-ball scorers in the league with the game on the line. And that step back is because what you call had to do it. What are my credentials in terms of basketball? So this is a comment from Reddit. What are my credentials? Let's say this. I've covered the NBA for the last 7 years between the Orlando Magic and the Charlotte Hornets. I have also been writing the NBA for about the last 10 years. So I cover the Hornets on a daily basis, as well as covered the Magic for the last 7 years. So I'm pretty well versed in the NBA on when it comes to speaking on these things. And I've hosted 2 NBA radio shows, and I've also designed NBA video games. So I kind of have a pretty good background about this. Great question. So back to the Martin twins. You go back to see what Caleb Martin has done. Caleb Martin played 15 minutes tonight. He scored 10 points. He was really what the Hornets needed off the bench, because Caleb Martin he didn't play the first game. Martin came in completely cold, but what he did was, as you watch the game tonight, especially that third quarter, was he was all the offense that the Hornets needed in the third quarter. As the Hornets only scored literally 16 points in a quarter, Caleb Martin had 10 of them. He played outstanding basketball on the offensive end. So if you ever watch the Martin twins play, just think about this. Caleb Martin's the scorer, Cody Martin's the defensive player. Together, they make an outstanding basketball player, but separately, they play outstanding roles in the game. Let's talk about roles in the game. Let's talk about LaMelo Ball. Now, this is a question that Charlotte fans are going to have a real concern with when it comes to LaMelo Ball. If you look at the stat sheet, 15 minutes played, 13 points, 6 rebounds. He had 2 turnovers. But the question is, why was he not in the game as much as it was? So if you watch the game on the offensive end, LaMelo Ball makes a lot of great decisions. He shot the ball really well, his first 2 3-pointers of the game. But also, if you look at him and how the team played, the energy level went up with LaMelo Ball. The problem was, it was the defensive effort that was completely the reason why he's not getting more than 16 minutes a game. There was a stretch in, I think, I want to say the second quarter, Theo Maledon was in the game. They both were going at it back and forth. Maledon had been struggling shooting the basketball, but a simple jab step, cut to the basket, LaMelo Ball didn't move his feet, that allowed Maledon to get back to a backdoor cut without barely even attempting to make a basketball move. There are times on defensive moments where LaMelo Ball seems to not even know what defense looks like at times. It's a rookie thing, but it's not just a rookie thing. This is the same things we saw in Australia when he was playing professional ball in Australia last year. The same defensive lapses we've seen. And if you know James Borrego and know how he coaches, defense is part of the entire thing. Defensively, Mike Patton's question is, yes, he has gotten better defensively, and he really has gotten better. But the thing is, it's not NBA quality. I mean, yes, he deserves more minutes. Yes, he deserves to play more. But when we're talking about people asking, should he be a starter? He's not ready to be a starter in his league yet. He still struggles with defensive concepts. But I think it's a time thing. It's a time thing. He's only played 6 games in the NBA, 4 preseason games, 2 games in the regular season. Hello, Mark, from the Haps team, Mark Goldman, the CEO, the guy that runs everything in the building. Of course, say hello to Mark from California, out in LA. Thanks for stopping through, Mark. The question about Martin and Ball, the better defensive play, it's not about it. I think the fact that when you put a guy like LaMelo Ball next to somebody, Martin's a good defender. I even think at times you can use Terry Rozier, because Rozier is a guy that's a dog defensively. The question is, defense is all about want instead of effort. If you want to play defense, you will play defense all the time. You will play defense all the time. You got to want to do it. LaMelo, if he puts as much effort into defense as he does offense, it's going to be better. But like I said, it's only been 2 games. So we're not going to mark this guy out after 2 games. COVID 2100 says there's a big market and a small market. Small market teams, and there's a bottom rung of teams. Yeah, there is a listing of teams on how this works. But if you look at a team like Charlotte, it is a quote-unquote small market team, but we've seen small market teams win games. So that's not really – you can still win and be small. Oklahoma City did it for years. Oklahoma City's not the biggest market in the league, but remember, they had Kevin Durant, you had James Harden, you had Russell Westbrook at one point, Serge Ibaka. They know how to win. So you can win in small markets. Okay, it's not about big markets, small markets. So big markets where it concerned, New York should be blowing away everybody. But we all know that at the same time, it's different because New York hasn't been competitive in years. My main man Ted Hicks, big shout outs to Ted. Uh, Brooklyn is here tomorrow. Yes, Brooklyn is here tomorrow in Charlotte tomorrow. So we'll talk about Brooklyn in just a second because Precious had a question about this as well too. And Precious also says to the same point I was saying as well, LaMelo needs to stay consistent throughout the game. It seems like he gets so much. He has so much energy on offense, and he just plays defense at times when it's not there. That's the difference between him and his brother. You look at how Lonzo Ball plays defense. Lonzo Ball can play defense. Okay. Lonzo can play defense. His shooting's not there, but Lonzo can defend as a willing defender and does so many things defensively. LaMelo still has to learn that part of the game. All right, so let's talk Brooklyn Nets. The Hornets, like I said, 109, 107 tonight. It didn't work. It didn't work. Let's see. Before I get to COVID-19, 2100 says, how many small markets had 3 MVPs at the same time? Also borrowed by large markets. Well, here's the thing. If you want to think about it, James Harden did not want to be the third fiddle anymore behind Russell Westbrook and Kevin Durant. All right. Russell Westbrook and Kevin Durant really just didn't see eye to eye on some things. You know, it happened to be a split. Both guys wanted to be stars. And to be honest with you, Oklahoma City when they traded Westbrook was in a different situation. Remember, they had Paul George. They were in a rebuilding process. They were in a transition process. And so you've had small market teams with MVPs. Look at Giannis up in Milwaukee. So, I mean, Milwaukee's not the biggest market in the league, and they have the guy that potentially can win 3 consecutive MVPs in a row. So market size doesn't really have to do anything. Like I said, Chicago hasn't been good in years, and they're the 3rd largest market in the country. New York, the Knicks-wise, haven't been good since, that long ago. And they haven't, and they're the largest television market in the league. Okay, the Clippers has been secondary to the Lakers for so many years. No team had 3 future MVPs. Okay, that's fine. I mean, it's great drafting, and that really James Harden didn't become an MVP until he went to Houston. Westbrook and Durant were MVPs in Oklahoma City. All right, so let's talk about the Brooklyn Nets tomorrow night. Listen, the Nets are 2-0. The Nets are literally scoring on everybody right now. Kevin Durant is healthy. Kyrie Irving is healthy. Brooklyn, as we saw on Christmas Day, went into Boston and wiped Boston completely away. And they did the same thing opening night to Golden State. All right, so what does Charlotte have to do to beat the Brooklyn Nets tomorrow night? All right, there's some things you have to understand. Tomorrow night, in Charlotte's case, you're going to see a lot more of Miles Bridges. Bridges had 14 points tonight. Most of that damage was in the 4th quarter. But Miles Bridges brings a tremendous amount of energy and a tremendous amount of effort. You're going to need that. You're going to need that completely tomorrow night because you're going to need every defensive effort you can against Kevin Durant. I think we'll see a lot of Cody Martin play a lot more on Kevin Durant. Listen, Cody Martin is the best defender on this team. He's the best on-ball defender. What does that mean? How's that going to work? Kyrie Irving, I think Terry Rozier, if anything, will have something to do against Kyrie Irving. It's going to be one of those things where it was, I think, Rozier and Kyrie, I think it's going to be a very, very good game. I think both they're going to go back and forth. The real key for Charlotte tomorrow night is finding a way to get Devontae Graham going. He has struggled tremendously his first 2 games shooting the basketball. Tonight was 4 of 16. He started the game really shooting the basketball very well. But the problem is Devontae went, I think, was almost 35 minutes without a basket tonight. Yes, Devontae had 10 assists for the 2nd consecutive game. He moved to 17th all-time in Hornets history, an assist, a passing Kelly Tripucci tonight. Devontae Graham was an 18-point-a-game scorer last year, was 5th in the NBA in three-pointers. Devontae shot 3 of 7 tonight from the three-point line, but he needs to be able to get off. There are moments in this game, and there's moments in this game tonight when you watch what Devontae was doing. It seemed like he wasn't going to go for the floater. It's like he was trying to get energy out there. He got to get himself going offensively. Decoin in the chat says LeVert's about to go off on 40 off the bench. It could get ugly tomorrow night for Charlotte. The problem is Charlotte's going to have to – they're going to have to play the best game they have played in a very, very long time. COVID-19 says, I appreciate your passion. I watched Hornets from inception, grew up in Greensboro. Listen, For me, I grew up a Hornets fan. Always been a Hornets fan going back to '88. I remember my first memories of Hornets games actually going to the old Coliseum. First game I ever went to was the Hornets and the Sixers at the old Coliseum. Barkley was playing. Those were Hornets and Suns. Barkley's first year in Phoenix. I went to the game at the old Coliseum. That's my first memory. I went to go see the Jazz the same week. It was Christmas week. My dad pulled me out of school from Jacksonville, went to the game. I've been a Hornets fan my entire life. That hasn't changed. But yeah, so COVID, I understand. We've grown up watching this team from the decision this team. Mike Patton in the chat, Kyrie Sage Irving is going to take that negative energy and get buckets. Listen, Kyrie Irving has sage courts all over the United States. He's going to stage courts tomorrow night. The one thing about Kyrie Irving is that if his shot is on, it's a dangerous thing. We saw what the Boston Celtics did to try to do last night. Durant went off in the third. Kyrie took his game in the fourth quarter. Ted Hicks is saying there's no chance that the Hornets win tomorrow night. It's going to be a struggle. Charlotte cannot go 0-4. They can't go 0-4. They really can't go 0-4. Because if you look at tomorrow night, it's Brooklyn. They have Dallas on Wednesday. If Charlotte goes 0-4 to start this season, it's going to be hard to get out of that hole. The first two games of the year were the games they should have had a chance to win. Now, the Cleveland game, we saw what happened with Cleveland. Tonight, Charlotte hits free throws, they win this game. Charlotte doesn't go 6 for 30 in the third quarter and extending it into the fourth quarter, they would have won this game. Also, at the same time, now you have Brooklyn, who's literally shooting lights out of the basketball. There is no interior presence. Bismack Biyombo can only do so much. You gotta watch the Nets in flooding. Now, what we have seen the first two games is Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving have played together. They have not played separate. All the minutes they played have been on the floor together. That means Spencer Dinwiddie and Karis LeVert will have to carry the second unit when those two are not on the court. Decoy in the chat saying Graham and Rozier, no one of them is getting traded. The sooner they do it, the better. I don't agree. Because at this point in the season, LaMelo Ball's not ready to take over the starting job. He's not ready for that starting job. He's not. He's just not ready he's not ready to take on big minutes just yet. I think until he gets more defensive concepts down, then we can talk about him being ready for the next step and ready to get more playing time for the Hornets. Until then, you can't move either one because both Rozier and Graham do some things that are needed. Graham is a knockdown shooter. Terry Rozier is your best defender. Both guys are above average playmakers, and Graham's averaging 10 assists a game. It's not ready for that yet. Grizzlies Nets is the back-to-back. No, I mean that's a different story for a different day. When it comes to things like the Brooklyn Nets and the scheduling, you don't. I look at it like this: the Nets, the Grizzlies played a solid game tonight against the Atlanta Hawks and fell short. That's just the back end of it. End of the grayscale from Reddit is saying the Grizzlies coming on the first. We know both. So when you look at the Hornets, it's a 3-game and 4-night stretch into the road. You have Dallas on Wednesday. You have the Grizzlies at home on Friday, and then turn back around, and Charlotte has to play in Philadelphia on Saturday. So 3 games and 4 nights after having the stretch of games they have. The Grizzlies are a superly talented team. John Morant, I think Kyle Anderson had 20 points and 14 rebounds tonight in the game against Atlanta. They still have Jaren Jackson. The Grizzlies are really extremely talented, and John Morant loves, as we saw last year, playing in front of his home state. I would say home state because he's from South Carolina, and it's not a far drive from all his family to come up to see him play. The difference is his family won't see him play, but you kind of get being in the hometown environment. I think it's going to be an interesting game on Friday night, and we'll talk more about it as we get closer to this game. The Hornets' real focus tomorrow night is the Brooklyn Nets because you don't want to go 0-3. You definitely don't want to go 0-2 at home, especially when you have to go to Dallas on Wednesday night. So, Bobby Blackjack in the chat saying he's been a Nets fan since 1982. Hey, listen. I mean, that's a true Nets fan. Because if you're going down to the swamp, you're a true Nets fan. All right, guys, before we check out, check me out on the 3pointconversion.com. At the same time, we also will have a post-game show tomorrow night after the game Well, now the post game show, the game does start around 6:30 tomorrow night. Post game will be right after about 9:30 after I finish up with Brooklyn and with the Charlotte post game. So follow me on Twitter at Danny number 3 Thompson on Twitter. Also and Facebook at Beyond the Buzzer Sports, as well as the 3pointconversion.com for all my Hornets work on a daily basis. Also, check out the YouTube page. We have the post-game interviews from tonight with PJ Washington, Miles Bridges, James Borrego will be up on the site probably within the hour or so. Big shout out to my man, Raphael Haynes, and the entire team over there for getting those videos up as soon as possible. So, it's always been fun doing these shows. Like I said, we'll be back tomorrow night talking Nets, talking Hornets. But like I said, also like, share, tag all your friends. Also, at the same time, subscribe to my channel because you know when you subscribe to my channel when these videos will go up on Haps TV. Big shout out to the Haps TV crew also doing it, as well as there is a link that came across your screen. Subscribe. Also, if you feel like you want to be able to donate to the work and continue journalists like myself continue to keep doing this, by all means, we do take donations. Like I said, as much as even 10 cents. We just appreciate the hard work you do. We do on this site. Like I said, as you saw Ted Hicks posted earlier, the Stay Safe Award. So sign up for Haps. Also subscribe to myself and also the wonderful journalists out there. So we're gonna do this again tomorrow night. Like I said, it'll be right around 9:30 tomorrow night. Nets Hornets. Check out the game if you're in the Charlotte area on Fox Sports Southeast. It should be tip time around 6:00 on there. Check out the radio WFNZ in the Charlotte area if you're listening. Otherwise, check out the game. It is national TV tomorrow night. So if you're not in the Charlotte area, what you need to do is, if you're in the Charlotte area, check out the game on NBA TV tomorrow night. The game is nationally televised on NBA TV, so the Hornets broadcasting crew will actually have the rights tomorrow night's game. So we'll check you guys tomorrow night. Like I said, Hornets fall short tonight, 109-107. But you have to give the Hornets a lot of credit. It was a 102-89 game going into the late in the fourth quarter, and the Buzz somehow found a way to fight back. And like I said, it was just too much Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and George Hill late. So I'll check you guys out tomorrow night. Once again, I really, truly appreciate you guys being here. I hope everybody had wonderful and safe holidays, and we'll see you guys tomorrow night for the BuzzCity postgame show. Have a great night, guys.